Hey everybody, welcome to the Developers Live panel. For those of you who don't know this format, we've been doing this for, I don't know, almost a year now. We've been in Seattle, we've been in New York, we've been in Moscow for WG Fest. But we said, screw it, let's do it live. You've probably seen these folks before. This is Thaine and Andrey. But for those of us who don't know who you are, can you explain what you do here at Wargaming?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the product director for World of Tanks, which means I'm the guy where it all kind of reports to. It's like a product owner sort of role.
Okay.
Well, and I'm lead producer for World of Tanks, and I'm serving as a bridge between this dude and the rest of us.
So important people that make decisions based on a lot of data for the game we love and play almost every single day.
That sounds good.
That sounds like a short TLDR. Yes. Excellent. So let's just go over what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about the update that just came out. We're going to talk about rebalances of premium and tech tree tanks, the addition of some tech tree tanks, new graphics, matchmaker, scary, yep. And what else do we have here? Sandbox.
Yep.
Sandbox
SPGs,
and some new modes.
Sandbox, some new modes, light tanks, heavy tanks, yeah.
It's going to be a fun time. There's a lot of stuff that'll, like, this is going to be a good one. I know for a fact, because I am waiting for the graphics improvement video that we'll have at the end of this show.
Yep. Well, I was just going to say, thanks for having us here. It's cool. We've done these. You guys have had us come out from, I'm based in a kind of split time between Cyprus and Minsk now. Andrey's full-time in Minsk. Yeah.
He lives on the airport.
Yeah, and Andrey's full-time in Minsk, and, we appreciate you guys having us out. And these events have been a cool way for us to be able to kind of hear from players, tell players what we're doing, and it's it's been great to do those in person, and it's kind of cool that now we've got the ability to do something where players who couldn't attend one of those events actually has the ability to to be a part of this too.
Yeah, it's the commitment we made a while back to just be available, I guess you would say. Like, be here, let us know that we're a part of the community. Like, we are the community, we all play.
Yeah.
You just have positions that help dictate what's actually going to happen. So first things first, update 9.17.1 just came out. We introduced 3 new German tanks. One of them was a slightly OP, the VK100-01. But besides that, we have other tech trees that aren't filled out. All right, why did we start with the German one?
Sure. Well, so look, the game's obviously been around for a little while, right? There's a lot of stuff that's gone on. Things have grown over time. The gameplay's evolved, and so there's been time that we need to make some changes to the tank trees themselves. Some of that is just to sort of balance out power issues as things have changed in balance and all that. Some of it is we want to get better about sort of having consistency from inside the line as you go up the tiers. Some lines are good with this, and others you play one thing and then the next tier up it's a completely different play experience, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And so giving people something where they can feel a little bit more like as you start with the low tiers and you move your way up, you're learning how to play that line, that style of thing better and better. That's a lot of the approach. Why we chose the German ones in particular first, I think Andrey can talk to.
Well, first off, this is one of the oldest and one of the most popular line, and at the same time pretty demanding to player skill to be played effectively. So we decided that this is a good start to go for Germans first. Obviously, this is just the first step out of a huge set of rolling updates we are going to have. What changed it, I think everybody knows already what exactly has changed, but the logic behind that was like this. First off, we took VK A and B and moved them into a different branch that have a logic within, like what Thaine said, a gameplay logic, how to play this particular kind of vehicles. And you can see both of them right now. Probably the one we introduced is pretty similar to the clan tank we already had in
Look at that VK just bouncing.
Yes.
That's not typical.
It's evil, but they are gameplay-wise are pretty different. One is a little bit more close combat brawler, and another one is a bit more mid-range kind of better gun handling machine. So they are different things. They're both not in HD models yet, and with HD models they will get more visual diversity, obviously. to clear up who's who. Secondly, we built practically rebuilt a line that leads to mouse with motion and VK100-1.
The second Mini Mouse.
Yeah, mini mouse, mini mouse,
Yeah.
and a micro mouse.
Yeah, the maxi mini mouse.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So it's not everything we shipped, obviously. We also touched a little bit German's mediums, in particular E50 and Leopard 1 prototype A. We also shipped 3 Japanese heavies and some changes to US 3 as well. But as I said, it's just the first step for us. The main objective is to bring on consistency to different lines and to different nations, lines within nations.
So you'll see, right, over time, obviously, like we said, this is the first, but there will be more of this coming, and
Yeah, can
I
you
know
explain can I ask you what we're going to be going to next? Or?
Well, I mean, look, at some point, everything gets hit, right?
Yeah.
It's just a question of which one we do first, what happens when. Certainly, the lines that have the most play, the most depth, the most involvement, tend to be the ones that, that we focus on because they're the ones that most players care about the most.
Yep.
But also, as Andrey pointed out, right, the sort of the older the line, the more likely it is that it could use some, some
Rebalancing,
love.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. I love the VK100. Please don't change anything with it.
Can't promise.
No, come on now. So we're getting some sad faces out there. Did the folks want to know maybe more of why we're adding new tanks, or ask some questions in the chat, please? We'd like to answer some. We're looking to do some live question and answers too, so please put them in. They're somewhere down below, maybe on our screen. It doesn't look that great, but it's over here somewhere. Ask us questions. We're looking to do some live questions. They'll be handing those to us, so please give them to us. We're ready.
By the way, we forgot a grill.
The grill.
Long-awaited nerf, because in the first place, the vehicle was created as an ambusher, and what it turned out into is a hybrid between light and medium tank with a huge gun. It's not exactly how we want this tank to be played, so we tuned it a little bit, so now it's a little bit more tank destroyer than it was before.
Now, we have one more question. We've been getting this on the forums. We've been getting this on Reddit. We've been getting texts, emails, pigeon, like foxes. Everybody's sending us this question. When are we getting the Meathead tank? We were supposed to have an asset for this, but unfortunately we don't have that right now. So if anybody in the audience can create a Meathead Photoshop tank, maybe it'll give you a great template for putting it in the game. So I mean, a lot of people are asking. I was just curious.
A lot of people not in your family, or
I have one older brother. He is adamant that we get a Meathead tank in the game.
all right,
But yeah.
we will have to strongly consider that then. So this is kind of just to be totally honest with the audience, right? This is an interesting thing for us because we're able to see questions and stuff as it's coming. I saw in there was a question actually, Andrey. Maybe you could talk about a little bit. Question was, when you do an HD model thing, what actually happens? Like, what's that entail? You want
to? Practically what we are doing, we are rebuilding everything from scratch very often, using, sometimes even using different historical research materials, because a while back then there were multiple trade-offs made because of how much polygons we were able to put in, just to keep the performance up and so on and so forth. So it means that the tank will change. And for these two particular vehicles, we built in Panzer VII as a serial tank. Obviously, both of those VKs never were built. It's just a wooden model. But we kind of elaborate from there and imagining how the VK7 could look like if it would be mass-produced on a factory. And this is how visuals would evolve, while a clan tank will be more like, brutal prototype-ish, evil machine, something like that. But it's not final. As soon as we will have some more,
awesome,
we'll share.
And speaking of new tanks, we're going to be getting, this is a lot of buzz, is the new light tanks, the
Yep.
9 and 10 tiered light tanks.
Yes.
Can you unveil the curtain a little bit?
Sure.
Exactly what's going on with those?
Yeah. So the light tank stuff is good. It's exciting. Look, the light tanks right now. Light tanks only go to tier 8, right? And there's some weirdness that goes along with that. We've got this scout matchmaking thing, which is really hard for people to understand. A lot of times you're in a tier 7 light and you find yourself surrounded by a bunch of tier 10 tanks, and there's really not much you can do, right? You're not the most useful thing at that point.
Yeah.
You sort of get patted on the head, right? Go sit in the bush, kid. Yeah, maybe spot some stuff for the big boys to shoot. And it's not the most satisfying thing on the planet, right? To be able to do that. And so, we're making some changes to that, pulling the light tanks line out all the way to tier 10. There's as we'll talk about in a minute, the new matchmaker.
Yep.
The new matchmaker needs that to be the case as well, right? So light tanks are going to be a full class citizen just like the rest of the classes now,
Yep.
right? To be able to have their tier 1 through 10 experience and be able to play them all from there. I think it's going to be, it's going to be a cool and interesting thing for players to have something different happening in in those tier 9 and 10 battles.
Yeah.
Andre, you want to talk about sort of the feel?
Yeah, how does that get pulled in? How do you just pull in 9 and 10 tiered tanks into an established game? How does that work for you?
Well, first off, it's an upgrade from what tier 8s were. The kind of side effect of having that scout matchmaking was that it was very hard for us to balance those tanks because of the array of different tiers they could be matched against, and not to create super powerful monsters. At the same time, we were kind of being too careful maybe sometimes with those. So new machines are going to be faster, more durable, with better guns, with more alpha, and able to stand their own ground. So this is a core element of current design philosophy, is making those tanks capable of fighting back and not only trying to hide into the bush in the tier 10 battle.
I mean, as we talked earlier, you talked about wiping off the dust and actually playing them. I mean, I know when I'm playing them, I have fun with them, but I know I'm not going to do much in the battle. It's just going to be me out there running around and then hopefully not dying within the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Well, you need to last about 5 minutes on average in order to be really effective there. And that's sort of the situation we want to fix, using the opportunity that development of Matchmaker gave us. So bigger, more evil, invisible, fast, scary.
Scary is what I'm hearing, and I'm actually excited to play the new light tanks. It's just one of those things that it's a class that I've never touched, for the sheer fact that I don't have fun in it. But just reading everything, listening to you guys talk about these things, I'm just like, all right, I might have a new class that I can be terrible at, but be slightly more effective in it and have fun. Any idea? Can you tell us when we might be able to see these coming in, or? Yeah,
well, I mean, soon. The light tank stuff, a lot of that has been out on the sandbox, right? People have been able to play them. We've got pretty good sense of what people like about them, how they feel, right? I'm pretty comfortable overall with where they are. Little changes here and there, right? Always tuning until sort of you ship, right? But it feels pretty good. So those will be coming. Should be in the next update.
Soon, TM, we'll take it. I'll take it. We're all excited. I know I'm excited. But to skirt into another thing is Matchmaker. We talked about it just for a second there, but we're introducing new tanks. We're introducing 9 and 10 tier vehicles in lines that didn't have them. Where does that stand?
Hi there. My name is Dimitri, and I'm at the helm of the World of Tanks team.
What changes can we see?
So I think for the Matchmaker, let's talk about what's wrong with it, right? This is the part where on the Facebook it goes everything. No,
but this is good. I said, we've been talking about Matchmaker for
ages, right?
For ages, and that we're working to fix on it. But now we have details that are positive, super positive. I'm excited.
Yeah. So in terms of what's wrong with Matchmaker, right? I think if you look at what the biggest complaints have been, and they're totally valid complaints, right? it's a lot of times you end up with really weird sort of tier splits. You know, you have 12 dudes who are in the top tier, and then you got 2 in the middle tier, and one poor sucker at the bottom who basically just like, hey, it's time to go get a sandwich, right? You know, that's not going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then especially if it turns out that guy's, you know, in a light tier 7 and there's, you know, it gets even worse. You have tier split weirdness. You can have a lot of class split weirdness, right? Hey, here's, you know, 6 TDs on one side.
And one on the other.
Yeah, and meanwhile, 5 heavy tanks over there. You know, a lot of that kind of stuff, right? A lot of kind of strange stuff could happen inside of that. And then, of course, the other thing that's probably a big one for Matchmaker is, you know, you can, because this is a Matchmaker problem too, is actually you can find yourself in the same map or maybe a couple of maps sort of over and over and over again. And, you know, in an evening, right, you end up with like, played 12 matches and
on fire.
Exactly, yeah, and I've been the same thing over and over. So that's a lot of the stuff that we're going to be trying to fix with the new Matchmaker stuff that we're doing here. I think we've got, so we couldn't, you know, we brought a couple of dudes out, but we actually also asked for one of our guys on the dev team to answer in more detail, the guy who's actually responsible for building this out, to go through it, and I think we've got
I think we have a video.
Yeah. So if we could play that, you guys can sort of hear it from the horse's mouth about from one of the devs who's building it out, and then we can talk about it more from there.
Sounds perfect.
Hi there, my name is Dmitry, and I'm at the helm of the World of Tanks team who are developing the new Matchmaker. In its current state, the World of Tanks Matchmaker isn't ideal. As a player, I notice these imperfections and sometimes they just overwhelm me. When I see my team and the opposing team, when I have 2 SPGs and the other team has none, or when I have a platoon with tier 6 tanks while the opponents boast 2 tier 8 platoons of skilled players. There can be a lot of cases like this that immediately make me not want to take part in a battle. Of course, we are aware of all the issues and disadvantages of the current Matchmaker. About a half a year ago, we had the idea of creating a new Matchmaker. We wanted an idea that could really work. We put together a set of requirements, limitations, and parameters that had to be observed in the new version of the Matchmaker. The basic rule for the new Matchmaker is that there should be fewer tanks at the top than in the middle or at the bottom of the list. We chose the 3-5-7 template as the best one. 3 players at the top of the list, 5 players in the middle, and 7 players at the bottom. We also had a perfect template for a 2-tier battle. 5 tanks at the top and 10 tanks in the middle of the list. Unfortunately, we can't always gather the perfect 3- and 2-tier teams in accordance to these templates. So the new Matchmaker will support a pretty big number of acceptable templates. Moreover, the new Matchmaker tracks the maps that players battle on during a given session and tries to minimize the chances of them getting the same maps again. One more important limitation is that now players can create 1-tier platoons. Also, the Matchmaker now evaluates the platoon tier that is in the queue. If a player with 3 tier 8 vehicles has been formed, then the Matchmaker will even it out with another team of 3 tier 8 vehicles. At present, it is a bit different. A tier 10 platoon can be matched against a tier 8 platoon. Bad times. The key advantage of the new Matchmaker is that it is very flexible for various settings. We will continue working on it even after release. It's not like we can say, okay, it's ready. Now go play the way you want to. On the contrary. We want to get feedback from players and then analyze it and use it to improve and polish our new Matchmaker.
All right, so there you have it. That is matchmaking straight from someone who's working on it.
That's 3 minutes.
That is a lot of information to pull in. Can you explain it to me, Andrey, in terms that I might understand?
I'll do my best.
Okay,
It's
thank
pretty
you.
complicated.
Small words work great.
So three key points here. Point number 1. A good matchmaker is not only the algorithm that could produce perfect matches, but there's also algorithms that could produce it fast. So what we are doing here, we are trying to optimize quality versus speed without sacrificing quality too much, or as we had it. So in order to do that, my colleague just explained that it's all about the templates, right? That we have several kinds of templates that are ensuring that the distribution of different tiers of vehicles in the battle will be, as we believe, great. But what we implemented as well is a technology that allows us to have, like a setting cartridge on the matchmaker. So to be on a cluster or on a region or even connected to a daytime. And this way, while running it, we will be able to continuously tune it and improve it on the fly without us forcing to wait till the next patch will arrive or something like that. So this is a kind of feature number one, or key element number one. Key element number two is map pooling. So we considerably reviewed how exactly Matchmaker was creating a set of maps that were used for each player's arenas, and now it's very, very different. I cannot guarantee that 100 persons during the day you will never play the same map ever again.
Map rotation's a little off right now.
It won't be true. So there is a chance, but it's significantly, it's dozen of times slower than it is right now. It's also, I'm kind of intercepting your question. It also will stop thinking that Himmelsdorf and Winter Himmelsdorf are two different maps. No.
Thank you.
From this time being,
thank you. We get some hearts in chat for that one. Holy moly.
And the third big element here is how gently we are treating the newcomers, and this system of settings that we have built, it allows us to have slightly different special rules for tiers 1, 2, and for the rest of the crowd. So again, we cannot protect everybody from an evil alt. It's impossible, but we are keeping the integrity of Centipede for newcomers, having a different +-1 rule instead of +-2 as everywhere else, etc., etc. And yes, it's built around the template. The logic behind them is the higher tier you are out of 3 present in the battle, the less quantity of these tanks will be, and we are very strongly fighting to keep that amount to a predictable spread, like 3, 5, 7, for example. That is our default template.
So that essentially means like 3 tier 10s, 5 tier 9s,
exactly,
and then so on.
7 tier 8s. And the good thing with that, right, is that now what that means is, if there's only a few of the top tier and there's a lot of the bottom tiers, then that means that if you're at the bottom tier, it's not this horrible existence where, you got maybe 2 things on the other side you can engage with, and then you're just screwed. Well, because there's a lot, right? There's a few top level predators in the map at that moment in time on both sides who get, there's a lot of good eating for them, right? But there's enough at that bottom level, right? There's so few of them that even if you just have, if there's only, let's say all the 5, the mid tier were gone, right?
Mentality.
Yeah, if there's enough, tier 8s, lancing around a tier 10, the tier 10's gonna get taken out. And so it means now that there's enough balance, there's enough weight, right, that even if you're low tier, you can actually have some meaningful role to play in the game. Instead of
let me go out and track all day long.
Yeah.
You can actually participate in something.
Yeah, instead of just basically being a trap, right? Being a rabbit that, is trying to attract shots or something.
Yeah, but let's take some questions. Max Johnson actually asked, will tier 10s take longer to get in game? Like, are any of these changes going to cause a longer grind?
The proper answer will be they shouldn't. Obviously, we will see on the actual load, but practically saying, we have several stages there that we call soft failures, and they are time-based. So if 3, 5, 7 of game is impossible to be assembled at this, let's say, period of time, and Matchmaker will produce a soft failure and then move to another template that is more friendly.
A little more generous.
Yes, and theoretically will go up to, okay, I have only tier 10s in battle, happens. So in 30 seconds I will assemble pure one-tier battle as it is possible.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and that's-
that'd be super fun.
Yeah, it's really important for us, right? Like, you got to balance the perfect match, right, which would take,
Like with a
10
great
minutes to
match, a
get
good
to.
match.
Yeah, well, look, the worst match is one
Yeah.
where you can never play, right? If you're just sitting there watching the cycle screen, right, and just waiting for your place in the queue to come up, that's no good, right? So we want to make sure that the matchmaker is balancing between sort of speed and quality, and it's not going to be like the current stuff, right?
Yep.
You won't end up in that match. But, like Andrei's saying, there's the optimum set of match, and then, we loosen it up a little bit. And especially if it's 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, right, it's probably going to take a little while to get the exact optimum 3-5-7 with perfect distribution of everything.
Yep.
So, we want to make sure that you can still come and play, right, and have a good time.
And video games, that's what they're all about. It's having fun.
Yeah,
right?
it's supposed to be,
It's
yeah.
supposed to be fun. Let's see, what other questions do we have coming in here? Oh, they're typing it up for us.
Oh,
boy.
preferred
What about
matchmaking.
preferred matchmaking? We got Max Lundstrom asking, what about preferred matchmaking? I'm assuming that means either tanks or just in general. Like, I guess it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
We've said we're not going to have any more premium preferred matchmaking for tanks, but
We have them already.
Yeah, we've got some grandfathered in, right? So the question they're asking is basically, how are we handling that, right, for those?
So, as far as I remember, Pity Dmitry, who was doing an interview, is not here. Sometimes I kind of not sure that I will be absolutely correct, but as far as I remember, we are not planning to touch them right now. It might change before the release.
Yeah.
But practically saying it's legacy, it's premium legacy, and we try not to mess with that too much.
Yep. And there's not a ton of them, right? Which
Yes.
is good. So it's only so many, and
some of my favorite ones, like the IS-6, please don't touch that. I think I have 980 battles left in that right now, so
Right.
hands off.
the good thing is that the things that are there right now, it's not like those don't cause a massive problem with the new matchmaker, right? So you're not likely to end up.
As to the previous question, the next big patch
Okay.
we're going to ship.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the lights and the matchmaker, they're both
They work
essential
hand in hand.
parts.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You got to, we're going to ship both of those at the same time. And yeah, we're not yet at the point where we're calling a date, and we don't want to, guys, we don't want to tell you something and then not have it happen, right? So we're not calling a date on it right now, but next big patch, we just got 9.17.1, so next big patch out, we'll have matchmaker and light tanks in there.
Excellent. Do we have any more questions coming in, or if not, I'm going to move on to the next topic because I want to get as close as we can to the graphical improvements as fast as possible because it really is my favorite topic, but that's just me. Let's see here. I don't want to start singing a tune.
Yeah,
we
we're
might lose viewers if they start singing a tune.
we're scanning a few
We're scanning
questions.
messages. Oh yeah. All right, you know what? If other questions come in for Matchmaker, I mean, it is a hot
Yeah.
topic. I'm sure folks out there are asking them.
Sure.
The folks will give us a note card on it, and we can answer it on the fly.
Yep. Well, and I know, I've seen there's a lot of, certainly from, as I look over every so often, there's been a ton of questions people have about, hey, what are you doing about maps and all that,
Yep.
and we're going to
We're
talk
gonna
about
get
that in a
to
little
maps.
bit.
Like again, I'm trying.
So
I'm
let's,
getting there.
yeah. So we hear you. We're
gonna
talking
get
about
there.
maps in a minute. So Brian, we've talked about it in the past, you and I, right? Like, what started as just sort of an internal rallying cry for me with the team has actually turned into like a thing that we're telling all the community, right?
Right.
Like, there's the unholy trinity of
Oh,
maps, matchmaker, and SPG, and that's what everybody complains about all the time. And our
SPG.
promise to you as the community, right, is that we want there to be a whole new list of things that you're bitching about by the end of the year. So,
Which is great because I'm going to lead us into the sandbox.
Good.
Because we sandboxes have been out for a little while. We've had a couple iterations. All right. How is that going? Like, in your eyes, how is sandbox going? Like, and what are we doing in
yeah.
there?
Well, so first of all, like, before we even talk about how this specific sandbox is going, let's talk about what the sandbox is, what it's for, right? before we started up with the sandbox, we've been, we need to get player feedback, we need to get player input, we need to know what's going on, right? And so currently what we do is, we've got super test, which is about a month before, the patch comes out, and then we've got common test, about-ish, right? Mm-hmm. And then, and that's about 2 weeks-ish, and then, there's a couple of weeks of common test, and then we tend to launch, right? Now the problem with that, and that's a good, it gets us player data, it gets us tons of player data, it gets us tons of, we get big play, right? So we're able to find things that you can't find when you only have, 30 people at a time playing, or just our QA team or whatever, right? That you only find when you start to get, thousands and tens of thousands of people playing at a time. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't give us the kind of feedback that we need to be able to make fundamental changes, really deep changes, right? So it's kind of triage level, right? It doesn't allow us to make the kinds of changes that we want to be able to make and really be responsive to player feedback. So that's why we've started building out the sandbox, right? We want to be able to get player input and feedback on things much sooner.
That you can.
When we can do something instead of not just little tweaks and maybe we'll dial back this number.
2 turns into a 3,
exactly.
We will fix it in 2 patches.
Yeah, exactly. Or worst case scenario that has happened, in some of the sort of patches prior was basically like, oh God, they hate it, just rip it out.
Yep.
And then it's this sort of really inelegant, it's like trying to do surgery with a garden axe, or
which is not good at all.
Not so good for anybody.
Cybernetic organism.
Yeah, it's a little.
Yeah. So doing it in a way where we can actually get player feedback early enough that we can do something really big with it, right? So the sandbox is a place where we get to be a little bit crazy.
And we had the first iteration was crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
we tried.
Yeah. Mission accomplished, right? We were trying some things. We knew we needed to do some stuff, make some rebalances, make some changes, and so we wanted to try things rather than turning our live production server, into a
test bed.
Yeah, a series of guinea pigs, right? We wanted to make sure that we were able to do that early enough, and the problem is if you don't have something like a sandbox, then you never try something really creative and really interesting. You got to be super safe, right? Because again, if it goes out live, you're screwed.
Oh yeah.
But when you have the sandbox, you can really push the envelope. So things like the role stuff, we want to make sure people understand how to play a particular type of tank, right? Any tank, to be able to know really easily. Oh, this is the the fast-moving, good shooting but no armor thing, and, play it that way, right? This one, because it's not always obvious just by looking at it, right? This is the heavily armored bruiser thing that moves like Jason from Friday the 13th, right? Yeah, it'll take forever, and, but it's virtually invulnerable, and it's going to nuke you if you get to it, yeah. Like that's not immediately obvious all the time, right? From the tank description itself. So, we moved to a role system. We tried to, build that out inside the sandbox, and it was too deep of a change. The way that we'd implemented it was too deep of a change. And so the great thing is we got player feedback that told us, that's not a good thing. Yeah, and instead of it going live, and then a bunch of people going, this is horrible. We just went, let's get to different ways to get to the roles, right? Let's find different ways.
It also helps not what to do, too. Not just what you should do or can do. Yes. You're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't touch that. Yeah. Leave it alone.
Yeah, so the roles is an example, right? Instead of going to this sort of hard-codey, brutal thing, now we've got, changes in the garage so that you can more easily see, the simplified characteristics, right? Oh, it's got great firepower, it's got crap mobility, it's got really heavy armor. And so they can start to get a sense of how to play the tank, right? Especially for new players coming in, they can get a sense of how to play the tank, which is good for them because they're more happy, they're more excited about playing the game. It's good for our existing players, right? Our long-standing guys, because they don't get as frustrated. It's like, oh great, another guy who's an idiot. That's less likely to happen if we educate the the new guys better earlier. So Sandbox is great for that.
And right now we're working on artillery.
Yes.
Andrey, can you walk us through some artillery sandbox breakdown?
Well, I think we spoke about that in Seattle quite well.
Yeah.
So the key
and we're actually watching it right now. So
key purpose of artillery is practically crowd control. It's number one. Do not allow mob to be built, and the second one is to duck out digged in heavy armor. So we're trying to toy with the idea of stun right now. Even within the team, I know that it's polarizing the audience pretty much at the moment, but it's a big argument even within the team right now. How would you proceed with that? And we're using Sandbox practically to test different cases and slowly kind of get to the point where we will be positive about what to do, what not to do with that feature. Meanwhile, while trying that, we invented and introduced some other stuff that is considerably more positively met, like multi-use consumables.
Yeah, I heard about multi-use consumables at the water cooler. Are you allowed to go any more into that, or should we just like TBD?
Yeah, no, go for it.
No, theoretically, yes, TBD.
Okay.
But we wanted them in order to allow people to combat stun in the first place.
Yep.
But it looks like it's a pretty interesting idea to toy with. I mean, we are not pioneers here,
Yeah.
right? Warships and planes are doing that for a while.
I didn't want to say anything.
Well, I did. But there were, of course, as always, there were skeptics and they say, oh, no, it's not for us, it's not for us. But it looks like it works pretty well. So we probably will continue thinking and toying with that idea. As far as I know, a new RT reticle was perceived pretty positively as well, and it's also a side effect of what we are trying to do with artillery. But no dates again. But it's a sandbox, so it's a crazy land still.
The reason I love the idea of multi-use consumables, if it ever gets implemented, is I don't have to choose between my gunner or my driver or my commander. I can save them all, or like I can save all my modules. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Right.
Still, it's a question of timing. I mean, it's as cooldowns are pretty significant. It's still a strategic choice that you are making. So you have a definite your action or inaction has a pretty high impact.
But I can save them all if I want to.
Theoretically, and this is one of the. By the way, this is one of the kind of fears we're toying with right now. Oh, maybe someone will get into a bush and sit there for 7 minutes trying to heal everybody else after a big high explosive shell hit his tank. It doesn't look like people actually act like that so far, but yeah, we'll see.
One of the questions I saw pop up was the concept of battle assistant. It was actually brought into the sandbox, and we're potentially bringing it into the live server. Like, what thought process is done to do something like that? The change from top down to
it's a reticle I mentioned already, or is the way how artillery reticle operates. Actually, we try to make shooting artillery a little bit more personal.
Okay. Instead of reaching out and touching someone, you can actually look at them before you hit them.
Not to feel yourself like a green light of beam of death
the
from
finger
the
of
sky,
doom.
Strike them from orbit type
bring it closer to how the actual tank versus tank battle feels. And again, it works pretty well. I mean, it's nice feature, and people love it.
Yeah, I mean, I click from time to time. I know you have a funny saying that we're all clickers because no matter what you're playing, no matter what class you're playing, everybody's
still
clicking.
how you shoot.
Everybody shoots that way. But I play artillery from time to time, and I'm looking forward to the stun mechanic. I enjoyed it, and I look forward to it. Now, speaking of sandbox, there's obviously a future sandbox. Sandbox isn't just a one-time use deal. It is an idea for long periods of time.
Right.
Like, what is the next step for Sandbox?
So, like you said, SPG obviously is a big thing now. We put light tanks through the paces, and now we're also obviously, and then you got to put them both together in the sandbox to make sure that that those changes collectively work together really well. Beyond that, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that we plan to do. We don't have, like right now, we don't have an end game in tanks, right? You get to tier 10, and it's awesome. You've got this super expensive sports car in your garage, right? But it's super expensive. You get hit in the credit book real hard driving it, right?
Oh, yeah.
You can get pretty well pounded. So it's like it's great. I finally got my Lamborghini, yay! But then, you drive it and you're like, geez, the mileage on this thing is killing me. And so, there's not a reason, right, to play it. And so we want to make sure that, one of the things we're going to build out over the course of this year is an end game, right? Once you get to tier 10, now you've got other stuff to do, really cool things you're able to do. In the sandbox, not too long from now, we'll be able to start testing out some of the modes that will start to make that up. So that's one of the things. But I think, look, beyond that, what you're going to see is just that this will become a standard way, much in the way that Super Test or Common Test has been just a standard thing that we do. Mm-hmm. Sandbox is just going to be a part of our new contract with the players. You know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely. And just to jump back a little bit, with the changes, being it rebalances and introduction to new tanks and things we might see in the sandbox, will there be alterations to the missions that are going on because of these changes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Specifically artillery, but in general.
Well, effectively, if we will go with a stand mechanic, if we will at some point be very, very positive that this is what we really want to ship and what our players do love, or at least not hate, then obviously, think about how it is implemented right now in Sandbox. I think a lot of people were there, and there are enough videos on the internet, so even those who didn't get an invitation have a clue what's going on. You will definitely need to do something with missions for artillery. It's a different class now. It's a massive change.
Yep.
So the answer is yes, of course, we'll need to. And tying back to Sandbox a little bit and the uses of it, we were kind of slow at the end of the last year because what Sandbox is, if you will strip all the nice objectives and goal Thaine was talking about, it's yet another production server. Yeah. We have lots of people in there. It has a high stability demand. It's a technically challenging task to make it run and survive that week or 2 or 3 under the WoT. So at first we were trying to build it exactly the way we approach building a power production server, and it turned to be way too slow for the functions we wanted to play. So now it is changing. We are getting better at it, and the quantity of iterations that you can see for the last month, there's a sort of living proof that we are getting there.
Yeah. Billiam actually sent in a nice question.
This is a good one.
This is a great question. What do you consider a success from the sandbox?
Sure.
Aside from the things that have been implemented, what does a success feel like to you?
Well, I think the question, if I'm reading it right too, is not just sort of, hey, what do you consider a success? But then if you've got something that you call a success, then what do you do with that, right? How do you treat it from there? Is it just like, oh, great, click, go to live, or is or do we do more tests or things like that? Certainly the answer to that is that it varies. there's a better question too.
That's a question of an hour, I think.
It's almost 5 o'clock.
No, it's only water. However, in terms of how we handle a success, it depends on what it is, right, and where we are in the process. There were several things that we tried last year, the beginning of last year, that we felt like were reasonably successful, but only enough to say, this is a good direction, keep going further in that direction, rather than, nope, give it up, no good here, right? And so the success was just kind of permission to keep doing more stuff and keep trying more things on it, rather than, check, okay, we're good to live. Other things we'll do differently, right? And in terms of success, I mean, it's ultimately what defines success. It's a balance, right, between, look, the biggest thing is, do players like it, right? Do players feel good about it? But also, it's not just what are players saying, but what's the data telling us? Is it moving the game in a direction that we want it to go, right? That's super important.
Taking into account that the behavior of players on the sandbox is not exactly the same as it's on the live servers, because you're not risking anything. It's not yours. It's not your economy. So people are considerably more aggressive, let's say, and reckless while playing. So we are looking into it with a grain of salt. But generally speaking, as Thaine said, it's a scientific approach to building your knowledge about the world. You are building up a hypothesis and then trying to disprove the hypothesis. So there is a sandbox, it's a disproval of some one or more hypotheses. And then if they are disproved, well, rolls, no. This is a bad hypothesis, we are not going with that. Stun, no, it isn't disproved. It's a certain grade of success. So then we need to clarify the hypothesis, to tighten it up to some more researchable subject, and then try it again, and then make a conclusion. So now we are not at the conclusion phase yet.
Okay.
And this is, actually, even in looking at some of the, various comments, right, it is very clear, right, even just if you read the comments thread, right, there are some people that don't want us to do a damn thing with Artie, and they think it's perfect. There are other people who want us to take Artie and just extract the class from the game entirely, right? Just delete the whole damn thing.
Yeah. How do you how does that balance
out
for you?
And so that's the the neat part. People say, "Oh, you got to listen to your players. You got to listen to player feedback." Absolutely true, but players don't all say the same thing, right? Some players say one thing, some players say another. Frequently, it's very conflicting. And so the important part for us, right, is making sure that that when we do make a change, it's something that hits well and that makes the broad majority of our players feel really good, right? There's no change that you ever put into a game is ever going to make 100% of your players 100% thrilled. It's just, that's not possible, right? In an audience with millions of people. Yeah, that's kind of life, right?
Yeah.
But we got to be careful, because if we only go, no, we'll only do things that everybody responds perfectly positively
to. The game would never
to.
change.
Yeah, and then we just bore players to death, right? Like, that's the only worst thing, And so, so the important thing is to evolve in a way that makes players feel overall good about it. And if they like most changes, but they don't like one change, that's okay. We're evolving, and we'll continue to
think about long term as well, because 1 or 2 or 3 weeks in a synthetic test like this, it's not half a year or 12 months of a game lifetime. So not to be correct on the long term sometimes is as important or even more important than to be correct on a short term on that first perception. And I think we got a question about
I've actually seen a lot
is it close to join?
So it is close to join, or like the limited window is extremely limited. But what kind of requirements and what things do you look for when accepting applicants?
So it depends a lot on where we are in the test. There are times what we need out of the sandbox can be very, very different at any given moment, right? There are times that what we really need are tremendously high-skilled players with, tens of thousands of battles that have been doing this forever, right? And we need their input and their feedback because we're trying to test a certain thing. There are other times where what we need actually is exactly the opposite of that. There are times then, a third time entirely, where what we need, we've gotten to a point where we feel like we've got something that's good and is close-ish, and we actually just need a broad spectrum, as wide a net as possible, right? Sometimes it's high tiers, sometimes it's low tiers. Sometimes we need people who have a lot of experience with one specific line, right? So every test, the needs or wants will be very different. And that's why for us, right, we've got the Sandbox blog, the dev blog that we keep up and live and talk about what we're doing. And for our players, right, you guys who are, the most dedicated about this and who have the most interest, just get your name on the list. We're able to see what the data is. And then at the point where we go, you know what, that's exactly the kind of player we really need. Yeah, then we'll pull that person in. But this is a lot bigger. I mean, even in the time that we've been doing the sandbox, it started and it was just really CIS, right? And now we're taking people in worldwide, and it's because of what Andrey was talking about, the amount of investment we've put into making the sandbox a real tool for us.
Operational platform.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes. We started to add quests to it for the latest.
I like the way that sounds.
An operational platform,
really
yes.
nice. Yeah, that sounds great.
I like that. It's very Death Star-y.
So continue writing in your sandbox questions. I want to continue moving on with the topics. Is another thing that folks bring up a lot when it comes to Matchmaker is a skill-based matchmaker, but I've heard around the water cooler, again, there's a thing called ranked battles.
Yes.
Can you talk about ranked battles for a minute?
Yeah, and this actually goes back a little bit to what we're talking about with with the need for an end game.
Hi.
We don't have an end game. We need there to be things that you do. And like you said, we know that there are a whole lot of people who want the ability to put steel to steel, right, and test their metal against the best of the best out there and prove that they're it. They're the alpha predator, right, in the game. And so ranked battles is actually one of the things, it's not all of our end game, but it's one of the things that's going to be part of our end game. It's a tier 10 experience where you can go in and you'll play against other people in a special ranked battles ladder. And in success, as you get better, as you have success in that, you'll rank up, and then you'll play people in those high-level ranks. And so over time, right, as you move up the ranks, kind of the non-elites, right, the guys like me who are not really that great players, we'll melt away, and at the top it'll just be lions versus lions, right? The gazelles are all gone. That is where the Andres are.
I've heard about your game.
Guys who are much scarier than I am.
Yeah, a few. But so it's kind of that thing, right? And you want to talk about some more of that, about kind of how that works?
Yeah, the design there, or the design for Ranked, was created around the concept that it's your personal skill and your personal investment into how battle went that matters, not simply win or lose condition. So the rules are more complicated than just win or lose. Top 12 guys from the winning team and top 3 guys from the losing team by experience are the guys who are getting a step up towards the next rank. Bottom 12 guys from the losing team are going down one step, and 3 bottom guys from the winning team are staying where they are. It is sort of also an anti-cheat protection. Well, I'm not saying our players are cheaters, but
no.
just in case, we went to our colleagues in St. Pete and check it with them how their ranked battles are going. So I think we learned a trick or two in order to make it a more interesting experience for our audience. Also, it's season-based, so it means that every now and then you will need to start this run from the very beginning. We're not ready to give too much details yet, I think. It's also from the soon category. But yeah, this is a key element. It's skill-based. It's not a skill-based per se. It's rank-based, because a skill-based matchmaking, if someone is telling that he's thinking about some sort of fuel, LO, or another kind of algorithm that is used for measuring player skill, like Microsoft True Skill or something like that. But what we are doing, we're matching people who are on the same rank or around the same rank, based again with soft-fail conditions for a matchmaker. So, when I'm thinking about this feature, I'm trying to make that actorish, saline voice that you can see on the TV, like TV advertisement. This year,
coming soon.
Yes, massive, like the best tanks, the most powerful.
The best of the best face each other in ranked battles.
That's pretty good. Yeah, you just put us on the same. Thanks for that. I appreciate it.
That's how I get the moderate dollars.
Yeah. I hear we also have a video from someone back at HQ.
Another one of our designers.
To discuss this particular mode, which I think we're going to be hopping over to.
Yep. I hope that the players like this stuff. It's been cool for us to, like, a lot of the guys in Minsk, they're excited to be able to talk about the stuff that they do. Obviously, it can be a challenge sometimes for them to communicate in English, things like that. But it's it's something I really want to do, and that I've been talking with the guys a lot about, that we really need to make sure that the players can see the guys that are actually building the individual features on this game, right? Not just Andrey and I who are looking over the whole thing and all that, but really, at the level of when we're talking about a feature, this is the guy who's actually got his hands on the keyboard making this thing happen, and so he's the best guy to talk about it, right?
Yep, so, absolutely. Let's cue that up.
Yep.
Hi, my name is Michael Goffman, and I'm a UX designer on World of Tanks. I joined Wargaming 4 years ago. I first worked on World of Warplanes, and now I'm doing UX design for World of Tanks, and I'm really loving it. I'm a big fan of World of Tanks. I played for 5 years by now. And a couple of things you should know about me. I prefer middle tanks, and I don't shoot gold. Never. Right now, we're working on ranked battles. Ranked battles is a type of battle which was designed perfectly for me, personally. Because I'm no clan player. I don't have enough time to train with clans, to go to speak to this huge pack of people and so on. What I really want is to compete with other skilled players. And ranked battles is all about competitive playing. So, what will we have? When you start ranked battles, you have no rank. After winning the game, or even after losing a game, but if your performance was really at your top level, you will receive a steps upon ranks and then ranks. We will have something like skill-based matchmaking. It will be based upon rank you have. So higher ranks will play with higher ranks and lower ranks with lower ranks. I really feel an excitement about ranked battles and World of Tanks. Though English is not my native language, so inside of me I'm rushing like a Viking, and, well, I could be a bit frosty.
Time out.
Whoa, technical difficulties, that's all right. I'm actually excited for that piece, so stay tuned for that. But also, apologies for the smacking of the table.
Yeah.
Apparently, I don't know if that was me, but apparently we're using this table as a
it appears
bunker.
that we've been beating the table in a way that we shouldn't.
Sorry, okay? My apologies. Jeez, holy moly. Okay, I'm just going to daintily move my piece of paper.
You're a dainty moving kind of guy usually, I think.
You don't expect a guy my size to move with the swiftness or the silentness. I get around. I'm all over the place. I'm in a bush.
You saw you just did it again.
Did I just do it again? I can't help it. This is... Oh, it happens.
Yep.
It happens.
That's all right.
So, can we talk about when that might be coming to the game?
The ranked battles?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's coming a little bit later. It's not on the same schedule as the lights and the matchmaker. That's a little bit further down the road. But we just, we want to also get in the habit of telling you guys about not just sort of the thing that you're going to see tomorrow or the next day, but like we actually have a big long roadmap of stuff now, real clear changes, and based on the feedback we've been getting from the players and based on what we've been able to pull off so far. And so we want to talk about some of the longer term goals as well. But again, the difference between maybe where we are now versus where we were a few years ago, we're trying to make sure like everything that we're telling you is stuff that will make it.
Yes.
Stuff that will ship. Right?
Well, it's a promise we made to folks that we wouldn't bring up promises, wishes, and dreams because it only makes false expectations.
Yeah.
You don't want to pull someone's heartstrings on something. You want to tell them like this is a thing we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we try to balance, right, when we're doing these things, we try to balance between, telling you more than just sort of what's coming real soon versus stuff that's later, but that there's a certainty around what it actually is, right?
So this brings us to our next point, and it's probably my favorite part. We're going to be talking about graphic enhancements. Now, this is something that we've discussed in length in the past. These calves are going to break streams left and right. I apologize. Are we really back? Was that live?
Are we live?
Yeah,
Are
we
we
live?
rolling?
See it live.
Is this thing on?
No.
Now it's live? Are we sure it's live?
All right,
Do I
we're
have
back.
to put pants back on?
We're back.
I have to put my phone away
Your
now.
clever
right?
plan to not show the maps video
I
has
didn't-
been defeated.
I wanted that to happen on purpose. The matchmaker video was, or not the matchmaker video, the graphics video was just so wow.
Yeah, it's awesome. We just showed it. Wasn't it
was
cool? Did you love it?
I loved it. I hope you all loved it too, and hope you didn't miss it because we're definitely not going to post it up on YouTube later for your viewing pleasure. We are.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I can't even remember where we were in the.
You were asking about maps and stuff.
Yeah, I talked to
Old maps.
Old maps.
Old maps. Yes.
Yeah, can we
and
talk
then
about those?
and then the internet broke. Yeah.
Can we rehash old maps? Like what can you give us on that?
A big discussion actually, starting with for the last 7 to 8 months we are looking into how to build the tools and to expand our knowledge base in the field of what maps are not working in the first place. So the kind of the evil joke, we call it a level design Bible, and it's Bible because it tells what not to do.
Written by R.N. Jesus.
Yes, that guy.
Yep.
Indeed.
Yes.
So, plus, to addition to that, we are creating this new HD, high quality, huge maps, and for that, we've spent like 99.9% of the time. So yes, we are not planning to stop and keep only those maps that are live right now.
I'm going to interrupt you because this is an amazing question.
Yeah, sure.
What's the biggest issue with introducing better looking maps? How do you balance that?
Well,
There are a few,
yeah. I mean, so there's a whole bunch of technical work, right? Engine work, core engine work that has to happen. And the great thing is, now obviously with the ability to show that on Abby at all, right? Let alone the new maps that we, I guess now will will show players this time on the stream. The core engine work has to happen first, right? You have to get the engine ready to have features that can make that happen, right? But then once you've done that, just because the engine is capable of showing brilliant, new graphics with cool water features and smudging and dirt on tanks and cool filtered lighting and all these great things and physical base rendering and all that, they're sort of the litany of acronyms that, that every cool engine nowadays in PCs is doing.
Desolation.
Yeah. Before we start our, tessellation and the PBR and all that, doing all of that just allows the engine to actually have that happen. But then the artists have to go and actually build assets that look that way, right? That have that thing.
Materials and maps and tessellation.
Yeah.
And whatever else.
Right, there's it's all the various bits and pieces that go into that, and so we have to literally go map by map, and we're actually, honest to God, rebuilding every single map that we have in the game, using the new stuff, right? Using these new features, using these new processes, right? Now it's not like it's building from zero, right? But
configurations.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you go into that
You
a little bit?
Yeah.
You have high-end machines, and you have, as a conservative machines that are on the market right now that our players are using, and we could not allow ourselves to ship something that won't be playable by significant amount of our players. So we effectively are keeping two different configurations. It doesn't mean that we are creating everything twice, but it does mean that we need to double test it on every possible.
I'm seeing a lot of sad, angry faces,
Yes,
and
yeah.
I'm not even sure why.
Well, I'm guessing it's because we just did, we didn't actually show them the video that we were talking
if
about.
you want to
with the
see
cool
the video,
stuff.
put the hearts on the screen because these angry faces aren't helping me whatsoever to be like, kick it. So if you want the video, give us some hearts. But yeah, like trying to get lower end and higher end PCs to run
With a new graphical engine, yes.
I guarantee you it wasn't easy, right? Like
It's never easy. Never easy.
But yeah, it's fantastic. I'm excited to show this video. I know you all are excited to show this video.
Yep.
Thank you very much for dropping by and discussing all these talking points with us. And thank you, everybody at home, for joining us. Tell your friends to watch both of these live streams, thanks to the technical difficulties that we had. It happens, Enjoyed the new studio, I hope. And if you want to see the video that we're about to show you or send it to a friend, it's also going to be on YouTube later on today, so you can see it there. But what does that even mean? You just put something in big red letters that says recap graphics.
Well, let's just show it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, words can only say so many
Exactly.
things. Let's see what.
Here's our recap. We're doing a lot of really cool things with graphics. We have some really cool maps. We're working. You're going to see all the maps in the game. We're going to get this kind of treatment, and this is all stuff that we're working on for relatively imminent ship. This is not something where you're going to see like one map here and then 3 maps 5 months later and then 6 years from now you'll see all the maps like this. We're doing this.
Yep.
And so this is what World of Tanks is going to look like.
So
yeah.
we're going to leave you with the video. Good luck, have fun, and we'll see you on the battlefield. Enjoy this video as much as I did. It's going to be a good one.
Thanks a lot for having us.
Take care, everybody.
Bye bye.